The funny thing about 90s crushes is how random they can be. Sometimes it came from a movie you watched 100 times growing up. Sometimes it came from wrestling flipping on late at night when you're supposed to be asleep. But somehow those moments stuck. And today we're talking about two completely different kinds of 90s crushes: the sweet, relatable charm of Anna Klumsky and the confident, larger than life presence of Kimberly Page. Different worlds, different energy, but both absolutely memorable if you grow up in the 90s. All right, let's start with Anna Klumsky. For a lot of people, Anna Klumsky became memorable through My Girl. What made her stand out wasn't glamour or attitude, it was authenticity. She felt real, like somebody you actually could have known growing up. That matters, because a lot of childhood crushes weren't built around somebody feeling untouchable. They came from familiarity, and it had this natural, everyday kind of beauty that connected immediately. The expressive eyes, the sincere smile, that awkwardness that actually made her more relatable instead of less relatable. Nothing about her presentation felt artificial, and that honestly gave her this warmth that stayed with people. She looked like someone from your neighborhood, someone from school, someone approachable. The kind of connection hits differently than the more over the top celebrity image. What also helped was how emotional her performances felt. You believe what the character is feeling, and because of that, audiences became emotionally attached, not just visually attracted. That combination creates lasting crushes, not just, oh, she's so pretty, something deeper than that. There was innocence there, vulnerability, personality, all of it blended together naturally. Anna Klumsky represents a very specific kind of 90s crush, the kind connected to growing up, to childhood memories, to emotional moments and movies that stayed with you long after they ended. Not flashy, not overproduced, just genuine. Sometimes that kind of crush sticks the longest. All right, now moving on to Kimberly Page. Now we shift into a completely different world because Kimberly Page had a totally different kind of impact. If you watched World Championship Wrestling or WCW during the late 90s, you already knew the atmosphere was huge. Everything felt larger than life: the entrances, the music, the personalities. And Kimberly Page fit perfectly into that era. She carried herself with confidence immediately, not nervous energy, not awkwardness, confidence. And that kind of presence instantly grabs attention. Physically, Kimberly had that classic late 90s wrestling valet look that people instantly associate with the era. The blonde hair, the glamorous styling, the confident body language, everything about her presentation felt camera ready. But what separated her from just being an attractive valet was personality. She looked comfortable in that environment, like she belonged there. That confidence made the attraction stronger because it didn't feel forced. There are certain people tied directly to the vibe of a specific era, and Kimberly Page is one of those people. The second people see her, it immediately brings back memories of late 90s wrestling. Nitro, the entrance themes, the over the top energy of that time period. She became part of the visual identity of WCW during its peak years. And that kind of association keeps somebody memorable forever. What made Kimberly stand out most was how effortless the confidence felt. Some people try too hard to look cool on television. She never really came across that way. It felt natural. And because of that, she became one of those figures people instantly remember when talking about late 90s wrestling culture. Not just because she was attractive or sexy, she was, because she felt connected to that entire atmosphere. And that's what made 90s crushes so interesting. They came from completely different places. Some came from emotional movies that you grew up with, others came from loud, chaotic wrestling shows packed with larger than life personalities. But somehow, they all became part of people's memories. Whether it was the genuine warmth of Anna Klumsky or the confident late 90s energy of Kimberly Page, both left impressions people still remember decades later. Now I want to hear from you. Who's the 90s crush that instantly takes you back to another time? Drop it in the comments. And I'll see you next time on Take Me Back to the 90s Crushes.